I am right here. I was a fresh graduate from nursing school, newly married and starting my career when it all took a turn, all for the curiosity of what numbing my body and my mind could look like. For over 8 months, I toyed with death. Being in the position I was in at the hospital, I had unlimited access to the drugs that allowed me to dance with death. It got to the point where my anxiety and my depression were pulling me further away from the life that I had worked so hard to build. And then, I was caught. For the next year and a half, I was in and out of 11 different rehab centers. I relapsed 8 different times, and in that process, I acquired multiple charges, all to take control of my life. And then, at one point, I attempted to take it. After years of running away, I finally reached out to God, not expecting him to respond. But he did. Without question, I heard a voice say, "I am right here." I broke down, fell to my knees, and I started to pray. From that moment, the Lord has changed my heart in unimaginable ways. He has rescued me from a broken life and brought me into a life worth living. What was once self-centered is now Christ-focused. I now belong to our church family. I'm serving frequently, attending multiple groups, and committing to a 3-year discipleship program. Through my experience, I can say with full confidence, it does not matter how far you've strayed, how low you have fallen, or how dark your world has become. The love of the Father penetrates all darkness and dives beyond all depths. He cannot be contained. Satan will try to hold you in the dark, but the Lord will draw you back to his light because he is always right here. And in that, there is hope.
What a video, huh? Yeah. Hello, Copper Hills Church family. Thank you guys for being here. And to those of you online watching from home, I pray that this service will be a blessing to you. My name is Dominic Puccio. I'm the Worship Arts Technical Director here at Copper Hills. And I know I'm probably not a super familiar face to most of you, and that's because I spend most of my time behind the scenes working with the production team that helped make service so great from the mezzanine. But I'm here today because up here with me is one of my good friends, Tyler, who we just watched a brief video about his story. And we're in this series right now about the life that Jesus has for us and the life that Jesus brings us to. And this weekend, we're going to focus on hope. Hope for all of us, what that looks like. And Tyler's story is a great example of what having hope in the midst of darkness and tragedy and despair, what that looks like. So would you all help me welcome him to the stage and thank him for being here? So Tyler and I have been friends for about a decade now. 2011 was when we met.
Yeah, that was junior year of high school.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what life was like growing up?
So growing up for me, I grew up in the church from as early as I can remember. I'd go to Sunday school every weekend, and then after that, I always went to church with my parents. Most of the time, I went to church because my parents said I was going to church. I was very much the child who just kind of, went through the motions of God and the whole church idea, and just still did what I wanted to do on the side. And honestly, it wasn't until junior year of high school when the Lord, brought us two together. We had the same forensic science class, and we hit it off immediately because we share the same interests as music and Star Wars and pretty much anything nerdy that you can think of.
Nerdy things.
Yes, yeah. And that was kind of the turning point as a child for me as far as being forced into a life with God, into I had the desire, to seek out God and to attend church on my own and to take things more seriously. So all throughout the rest of high school, we went to youth group together at CCV, did Bible studies, and we're closely connected with like-minded people our age, which was a huge plus for me because prior to that, I didn't have the best influences around me. And I just started taking faith more seriously, honestly. And our senior year of high school, both of us were accepted to Manhattan Christian College out in Kansas, and the plan was to head out there together and
bunkmates for life.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Yep, earn our theology degrees, and yep, exactly. And that was the plan. And then for some reason, pretty much just right before we were supposed to leave, I decided not to go. I think there was just some things in Phoenix that I was thinking, I don't know if ministry is something I want to go into. I was doubting it a lot. So pretty much on a whim, I decided that I wasn't going to go.
Yeah. So out of high school, you decided not to come to Kansas. Leading up to the things that we just watched in the video, what do you think was the big turning point that made things kind of start to spiral?
Yeah, so, I mean, the effect was pretty much almost immediate. Once we kind of went our separate ways, I immediately had regret for choosing not to go to college in Kansas. And even to this day, I still regret not doing that. But the big turning point for me would have been about a year and a half after the fact, when I met my now ex-wife, that we both just kind of fed off of each other in that we just completely withdrew from the church and didn't go to church for a good 4 or 5 years. And I remember during that entire time on a regular basis, the Lord was convicting me for multiple things, because I was leading a life of my own desires and doing what I wanted to do as opposed to doing what he was wanting me to do. And I chose the world instead of choosing him. And I just, whenever I felt that, I pushed it away and I buried it. And I did that for many, many years. And ultimately, me choosing to do that led me down a dark path of anxiety, major depression, and just a lot of sadness, really.
Yeah. So we watched in this video really just how bad it got. And to use your vocabulary, there was brokenness and darkness, despair. But there was this turning point. There was this moment where you decided, as somewhat of a last-ditch effort, that I'm going to reach out to the Lord and just see what happens. What led you to that? What kind of brought you to that moment of just finally surrendering to him?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a culmination of a lot of different things. I spent a year and a half going through 11 different treatment centers, relapsing, I think 8 times, getting kicked out of 4 or 5 treatment centers for doing bad things, getting possession charges, and at one point trying to commit suicide and was almost successful. And just through all that, I had moments where I thought that I was doing good, and I would have good stretches of sobriety and good things would happen, and the next thing I know, I'm falling on my face again. And I realized that throughout this whole process, I was trying to control my life myself. I was trying to make my life better. I thought that I could do it all on my own. And Satan did a very good job through this whole process of deceiving me into thinking that I was doing a good job at it, when in reality I was not at all. And it was this past November when I had my last relapse that kind of hit me the hardest, because I really thought for sure that up to that point that I had it, like I was going to get it this time. I wasn't going to relapse. I was going to do good. And then unexpectedly, a situation popped up, and I ended up, without even hesitating, I used again. And it was kind of that moment where I was just like, I don't know what else to do. Like, there was just that sense of hopelessness and despair. And it just the thought just kind of crossed my mind of, maybe pray about it a little bit. And I was scared to do so, because I even prefaced my prayer with, I have rejected you for so many years and have not listened to you. I don't expect you to do any different, but I am coming before you right now because I don't know what else to do. And his response was just incredible. Immediately, I just got this feeling of peace, and I just heard him tell me that he said, "I am right here."
It's okay, yeah.
And I fell to my knees at that point, and because I couldn't believe that someone who I had spit in his face so many times and did my own thing and knowingly rejected him was still sitting right there. And that's when I fell to my knees and I just started to pray.
Yeah, it's so hard to hear these things, and I think going through how bad it was and retelling that only gives more credit to the Lord, that regardless of how bad it was, and regardless of how deep you were in that moment, he was so quick to bringing you in. Yeah. He was so quick to rescuing you from that. And so you had this moment and peace was given to you. How did things start to change? How did the Lord start to bring hope and purpose and meaning back into your life after you had this moment with him?
Yeah. So, as I was praying, I was really just throwing all my baggage at him and just really unloading. And through all of it, I could literally feel him just like lifting the weight off of my shoulders, and almost like a veil that was being lifted from my eyes, because when I got done praying, that uncertainty of what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to beat this addiction thing? It was clear as day to me, all I had to do was turn towards him and put my trust in him. And that's exactly what I did. And I haven't had a single craving or a single desire whatsoever since that moment. He put the icing on top of the cake after I prayed too, because what happened next was made me break down again. I probably cried for like a solid 3 hours straight. I did what I pretty much always do. Opened up my phone, turned on Spotify, and I put my music on. And Dom knows some of you guys know very well what I listen to. It's very, I listen to metal, very heavy, angry sounding.
Blood-curdling screams.
Yes, exactly.
The bloodier, the better.
Yes, exactly. One of the things we nerded out over in high school. Yeah. And I'm looking at this playlist, and one of them catches my eye, and it's a song by this band called Ashes Remain. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but they came out with an album back in 2011 that I hadn't even thought about or heard or listened to probably since 2011. And there was a song just sitting there called Right Here. And I turned it on and I listened to it, and dude, it was like verbatim. Jesus was like responding to what I had just prayed about. And it was almost like he was giving me a verbal response through this song. It was absolutely incredible. And if you guys haven't heard that song, I highly encourage you guys to go and listen to it. It's a very uplifting, and it literally is about him being right here the whole time, no matter what.
So, what are some of the things now that you are doing in your life that are exemplifications of this new life that Jesus has brought you into? You were called into this new life. You were given this new life. How are you now experiencing that? How are you living that out? What has the Lord given you?
Yeah, so it's been a pretty incredible experience. Pretty much immediately, I felt a change of heart, like my desires changed and my drive for things changed. It went from me wanting to pursue this for my own selfish reasons or go down that career path or whatever, into one that was really just desiring him, and wanting to grow closer with him in everything that I did. And examples of that is I actually, for one of the first times in my life, actually wanted to read the Word. I actually wanted to be at church, get involved on a regular basis in that church. And even people around me were asking me what had changed, because they had noticed something that had changed. Like my whole demeanor and my attitude was completely different. And not very long after that, I ended up getting a job at a treatment center, and that was a very meaningful job for me, because I was able to go from being the individual who was beaten down, broken, didn't know what to do, just in a really dark place, and go to being the person that got to help an individual who was in that same exact position. Just being able to understand where they were at and kind of meet them at their level. And through this, for the first time in my life, I didn't have any shame about my faith. So everybody at this place knew what I believed in. I was not ashamed to express my faith. And I had an amazing opportunity to minister to dozens of different guys while I was there, and 3 of them come into mind in particular, because these guys, for instance, went from having no concept of God whatsoever and never been a church attender or anything like that, into they're now pursuing a relationship with Christ, and they've been baptized, and they are able to not only accept that, but they're also able to take that and take it to the next person as well. So just knowing that he used me as a vessel to do that is incredible to me. And it made me want to just keep going further. So I started to pursue that Bible degree that I decided not to do so long ago, which actually ended up brought me down to Phoenix, because I got accepted to a seminary to do a master's degree in that. And that was the only reason why I was going to come back to Phoenix, because I had a good life up in Prescott. Everything was great. And it was only to go to school, the reason why I came down here. And now that I'm down here, I understand just what he had in store for me when I came down here. Because I got plugged back in here at Copper Hills, and didn't even know that Dom was working here, hadn't seen him in years. And, he's taken this as an opportunity to not only give me the restored relationship with my best friend that I thought I was never going to get, but he also has given me an amazing group of people, through the college group that this church has, and through the recovery group, to just spend all my time with amazing people, and not be around the influences that led me astray before. And being able to serve on the tech team, doing audio and lights, and then being on the medical team as well. And then, I'm even on staff here now too, which is crazy.
Yeah, we work together, dude.
Yeah, it's nuts. I never would have, especially not this soon. I didn't think I was going to get a church job this soon, but and then I also work for a foster care organization close by too, that takes in DCS children that have had very, very, very difficult lives. So being able to be a part of that as well and to just shed a little bit of light into their lives has been an incredible gift that the Lord has given me to do.
It's so cool to see how accepting that hope, accepting that gift, accepting the calling that Jesus gave you has completely rerouted the direction of your life in such a short span of time. I remember on Christmas Eve services, that was when I had seen you for the first time in years. I'm hustling and bustling, and I'm walking down the aisle, and then you were just like, hey, yeah. It was so, and this, when we had reconnected, it was so shortly after all of this had happened. And now it's just July, barely 6 months later, and the jobs that you have, the community that you have, the hope that you have, the faith that you have, and the boldness to share it and to proclaim it and to have this unashamed candor in how you share that with people. The Lord is so good.
Yeah, he is.
And
yeah.
he has proven and used your story as such a clear example of the hope that he offers all of us, and how if we just take that, things can completely change and we can take hold of the life that he has for us. And so I want to ask you one more question. For all of us here, those watching at home and all of us in the room now, through your story, through your experiences, what is your encouragement to us? What is your encouragement to those of us who may be right now in the thick of it? To those of us who may be feeling like there's nothing but despair, that there's nothing but hopelessness, there's nothing but brokenness. What is your word of encouragement?
Well, I mean, kind of like what I said at the end of the video. One, he's always right there. And I'm a living testament to that fact, because it doesn't matter how dark your world has gotten, or how far you've ran from the Lord, or how many times you spat in his face. He's always right there. And his love is never failing for us. You know, he is a God of love. He wants to have an intimate relationship with each and every one of us on a personal level. And, you know, Satan's going to try to deceive us into thinking otherwise. But the reality is that, you know, even though life isn't going to be easy, we are going to have our struggles. The reality is God put those struggles in our lives to give us the opportunity to turn towards him and to trust him and to press into him in order to grow in that intimate relationship with him. So my encouragement to everybody, regardless of how dark your world is right now, how dark it has been in the past, or even how bright and beautiful it is right now, he's always right there with you. All you got to do is turn and look.
Thank you so much, dude.
Thank you for having me.
You guys, thank you. Your story echoes that of one that Jesus tells in the scriptures. There's the story of the prodigal son that I'm sure most of us are familiar with. And there's this son who spits in the face of his father. He leaves. He takes his inheritance and he runs with it, spends it, wastes it, it's gone. And now he's in ruin. He has nothing but despair left for him. And so his last-ditch effort is to go back to his father. And he's in your same boat, expecting him not to listen. He's prepared to work. He's prepared to have to repay everything that he spent and everything that he's wasted. And rather than any of that, his father just welcomes him with a hug and celebrates. And that's your story. You lived the life of someone who went and wanted to live a life for yourself. And in a last-ditch effort, you come back to your father, not expecting him to be listening to you, not expecting him to hear you, not expecting anything to change. And boy, did he surprise you.
Oh, yeah, that's an understatement, man. He's blessed me in ways that I couldn't even imagined.
Yeah.
And not necessarily in the ways that I would have asked for. in ways that I just couldn't even think of. And I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah. Like Tyler said, let this be an encouragement to you all that no matter your past, Jesus gives you hope for the past. There is no mistake that we made. There is no sin that we committed that is too heavy, too burdensome for him to forgive. And he gives us hope for the present, that no matter what storm we are walking through, no matter how dark things are around us, he is there. He is right there with us. And he is our hope, a trustworthy and solid anchor. And he gives us hope for the future, that there is no reason to worry. There is no reason to fear. He has it in his hands, and he is walking alongside us through every inch of it. So again, Tyler, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you
for the courage and the bravery to come up and to proclaim the work that God has done in your life. I want to pray over you. I want to pray over our church and bless you. I pray that Tyler's story, if it's something that you echo with, or something that you are feeling right now or experiencing, to just hold fast to the hope that holds us. Jesus is our anchor. He is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. And in him, there is no despair. There is no brokenness. He brings us from it, and he invites us into a life that he has carved out for us, a life far better than we could have ever imagined. So would you pray with me? Father, we are humbled by you. We are humbled by the love and the affection, the hope and the redemption that you give us, that you offer us, regardless of our circumstances and regardless of our mistakes. You are a Father who is waiting so eagerly for us to come back to you. And you welcome us not with shame, not with guilt, but with open arms, celebrating your child who's come back to you. I thank you for our brother Tyler. I thank you for the story. I thank you for your work in his life and the redemption that you have brought him to. I thank you for the boldness that you have given him to glorify you in the story, not to boast his own strength and not to boast his own courage, but to boast in you, because in you alone there is hope. In you alone there is redemption. In you alone there is reconciliation. Lord, may we hold fast to your Son. May we hold fast onto what he has done. And in times where despair and brokenness are all that surround us, may your Spirit remind us that you are right there with us. You always have been, and you always will be. It's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.